I was abandoned out on the street, 8 months pregnant, by a sex trafficker. I had called out for help before. No one heard my call. Did you? Did you know between 2015 and 2020, over 13,000 individuals were trafficked for sex in Sacramento County alone? I was one of those statistics.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion are simple: to highlight the incredible nonprofits that make our communities stronger. Each episode is a chance for these organizations to tell their story in their words, sharing not just what they do, but why it matters to the people they serve, to their supporters, and to all of us who believe in the power of community. Through podcasting, we hope to amplify their voices, inspire connection, and give them one more tool to impact the hearts of donors, partners, and neighbors alike. This work is made possible through the generous support of our incredible partners: Cap Trust, offering fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations; Western Health Advantage, a local not-for-profit health plan that believes healthcare is more than coverage. It's about caring; CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. They work in it so you can work on it. And Five Star Bank, a local, trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, an important reminder that trafficking isn't something that only happens somewhere else. It happens in communities like ours, right in our backyards, in every neighborhood, and far more often than many people realize. And what makes this month especially meaningful is that awareness alone isn't the finish line. The real question is, what does it take for a survivor to rebuild a life that's safe, stable, and truly their own? This episode, you're going to meet someone who answers that question with both courage and a blueprint. Emily Sanders is the founder of Connect to Change, and she's also a survivor. Her organization is rethinking what support can look like after escape, after crisis, after the immediate emergency is over. Because safety is essential, but so is sustainability. Emily and her team are helping women move from survival to self-determination through entrepreneurship, coaching, mindset shifts, and practical skill building, including financial confidence, strength-based planning, and micro-enterprise development. Not a one-size-fits-all pathway, but an individualized, empowering one. And the community is taking notice. Emily recently won Sacramento Venture Philanthropy's Fast Pitch, walking away not only with major funding, but with a deeper network of people ready to help her work grow. This conversation is honest, hopeful, and forward-looking. It's also a powerful reminder that real impact isn't just rescuing someone from harm, it's helping them build what comes next. Emily Sanders, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you, Jeff, for having us today.
I'm so excited because I have to share, you are the winning recipient of Sacramento Venture Philanthropy's Fast Pitch 2025, which is the 10th anniversary. And here you are, one of the younger organizations who emerges victorious with the most money, the most opportunity to use that funding to the greatest good of the organization. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
It was an absolutely amazing experience. And I knew we were the underdogs. But let me share a secret with you. August 24th at 6:04 a.m., I found a note that I had written down. And on that note, I had written down, raise $20,000, win SVP, both of which I have now achieved.
Congratulations.
Thank
Who
you.
says you can't manifest and that you shouldn't write things down when you have goals and objectives, right?
Absolutely. It's the same lessons that I speak to the women that we serve.
Which we're going to get to in just a second, because I'm going to share another thing that I happen to be the beneficiary of on stage. As you're holding your winning check, was that $15,000, was it? The
One
check
of them,
itself? Yes. A couple came up and they said, we'd like to give you another check.
Stand for just
Emily, you are awesome. I know your story coming from very, very little, just even a few years ago. And Joe tells me it is all coming together for you. And we are very excited, and we would like to contribute to that. So we would like to add to your total tonight $4,000 to help you continue to help the women that are in your life.
And you got more money from somebody who really believed in you and what you were doing. And they said, do you remember we told you you were going to win?
Yes.
And I was blown away.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I came in, as you said, a lot there. When I looked at the other organizations, I was
Sure.
like, whoa, whoa. Well, I am so honored to be a part of this. I couldn't believe it when they said, and the winner is Connect. I was like, is that our name? It was an overwhelming feeling of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And our organization most certainly needed it at that time. We are now fueled forward for 2026. And not only with the winnings, the biggest winning of SVP is all the people that I got to work with, connect with, and now am going to be working with in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
That was the real winning of SVP.
Yeah, and we'll touch base on that too in just a second, because what I want to know is, how did the organization come to be?
So I shared a little piece
Yes.
during the fast pitch, and I'll share a little bit more with you now. So in 2019, March 2019, I was abandoned out on the street by a sex trafficker here in Sacramento County. 2019, not too long ago.
Mm-mm.
My son is 6 now. And that was the beginning of the life I have now. I'm 42. I'm 42.
Now everybody knows, Emily.
That's okay. I'm 42, and it's taken almost 40 years of my life to now have the blinders off and see the world so differently than how I used to see things before. And what I'm doing now is I have a program that I've designed to help other women do exactly the same.
And it's a little bit unique, because the stories we might hear normally would be, well, when the women are trafficked and they're discovered, we find them, we're able to pull them out of that situation. It's really victims' resources that we're taking care of, the basic needs, housing and food. But you're beyond that. This program is a little bit different. That's a part of what happens with organizations that you work with, and we could talk a little bit about collaboration in a minute, but you do something different with them. And I want to get into that, because you did it yourself first before you realized, if I can do this for me, I can do this for them.
Absolutely. It's been a journey, right? It's a journey. Any entrepreneur will tell you it's a journey. I'm building this plane as I fly it. And that's not just the organization, right? That's myself too. One of the biggest things about entrepreneurship, it's not the business building or the business that you have at the end. It's the person that you become during the journey of being an entrepreneur. Because in order to reach those goals that you've set, in order to get to that place where you see you want to be, change has to happen. You have to learn, you have to grow, you have to become disciplined. But if you can set that why or set that dream, that goal into your mind, and you know that you will do whatever it takes to get there, that's what keeps people motivated. That's what helps open women up to using all those resources and victim services tools that we were just speaking about, the numbers to call, the places to go to, all the things that you have to do to start rebuilding your life. They're out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them. There are a lot of nonprofits. A lot of these women have been so victimized and torn down, and they've been on the system for quite some time. Promises broken. They're just going through the motions. They're showing up if they can. They're given the papers and the tools, but they just don't believe that anything's going to change. They dream of a better life. They know what they would like, but they don't see how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
We come in, and I'm like, look, you can get there. I promise you can get there. It's going to take time and it's going to get work. We'll help you. We'll help you map out those steps. You have to do those steps yourself, but we'll walk them with you. And when we're teaching women and we're going over like, this is what I've done, this is what you can do. Here are some old belief systems that I know I even was brought up with. You might have thought this for 30 years, but let me show you a different way of thinking. Have you ever thought of this? This then opens them up to go, oh, you know what? Maybe I will call that number. Maybe I will use this. Maybe I will meet with my caseworker over here because you know what? I have to do this so that I can have this.
Mm-hmm.
So now those tools and the resources that are available, they're using them.
Mm-hmm.
They want to use them because they want a better life. I've had women come into the class. They've had to come with both their kids. I had one woman, she goes, oh, I woke up, this one was sick, the other one couldn't go to school, my babysitter didn't show up, but I was not gonna miss coming to Emily's class. So here we are. I'm sorry, is it okay if they're here? Of course they are. That's perfectly okay because they're, whatever they have to do, they want a different life and they're willing to do it.
So I'm going to have you take a little step backwards because I want you to address what you did, the struggle you had to get started when you were trying to reintegrate and figure out what it was you wanted to do, how you wanted to be an entrepreneur in some way, shape, or form, and how you invested in yourself to get there first, knowing that without that, you'd never have the ability otherwise.
Absolutely. That's blood money. Yes. And I say that because I donated blood, plasma to be specific, to pay for the business classes that I took. When I had initially stepped into the entrepreneurial field, it was in connection with the core program through the Asian Chamber of Commerce, and it was to get into a cannabis industry. They were offering at that time a $100,000 6-year free interest loan to put forward towards a cannabis
Business. Yeah.
And I thought, wow, okay, well, this would be a great opportunity. I had never even thought of entrepreneurship. Let's just start there. My whole life, never thought of it as entrepreneurship as being something for me, right? All of a sudden, I thought, wait a second, I'm a part of this program now, and this is possible for me. I also understood that I didn't know anything about starting up a business, but I knew I could learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found the Women's Business Center. They had free mentorship. I signed up immediately for them, started working with a mentor through there. She had a couple classes, and at first I said, I can't afford that. I think I had $428 coming in every month at that point. And she said, well, I just wanted to offer it to you. You just let me know. Well, one of them was $499. That year, we received the COVID stimulus card in the mail. I remember when I got that, I could have used that $500. Absolutely could I have used it. But I went to the bank. I put it in my bank. I pulled into a parking spot and I paid for that class. And it's the best money I ever spent because it opened up the doors of opportunity and people. That's how I connected to Startup SAC community. That's who we partner with now today. The Sacramento Entrepreneurship Academy. I graduated as a alum in 2022.
And that's the Carlson Center at Sac State.
And the Carlson Center at Sac State, all of which we are now networking and collaborating with in 2026 for the women. And I just continued to grow as an entrepreneur, but I had to work on myself a great deal. I no longer, everything that was their fault or the government's fault, or it's all my fault. We had to come there. And I think we were speaking earlier about Taylor Swift has a good song, I'm the Problem, right? I had to learn that I was the problem. And then I had a lot of things I had to learn. During that time, I became certified as a domestic violence peer counselor, certified as an ICF master life coach, also a DISC practitioner, and I've continued to build my skills. And that's what I'm showing the women that they can do too. It's when you have an idea, you can build it into whatever you want it to be. Everything in this world that's a business was an idea at first, right? And if that's truly what you want, you have to grow as an individual to get it. And that's what we're doing now. And the program I designed is specifically, it's more than just business. It's the coaching aspect and the mindset shifts aspect that's interwoven into our curriculum.
So the program is the extension of your experience now transferred to the women who are going through the same things you've gone through.
Absolutely. And almost translated too. So what I learned on my experience and the gazillion cohorts of through Startup Sac and Sacramento Entrepreneurship Academy.
Not to mention the gallons of blood.
You're right. That I did for a couple of years there. All of that together, I know what areas I struggled with understanding and what areas really kind of kept me stuck. I'm able to take that information now and deliver it to the women in a way that they can understand it and they can then absorb it and then take action themselves to use. So I'm taking a lot of the learning curves that I had and translating it in so they don't have to go through that, right? And I know what areas really need to be worked on, like money. Week 4 for us is going to be a solid week of money, but it's more than just, here's a budget. You need a budget, and this is a spreadsheet, and this is what you're going to do. And then here's a business cash flow account. They'll see all that stuff's too much. First, we have to start with healing the relationships with money. These women coming from trafficking and exploitation, their distorted views on money have come from years of financial abuse, money being taken from them, never having enough, being told that it's the root of all evil. How do we expect them to be successful with any of the tools, workforce, entrepreneurship, if they can't clearly understand money and heal the fragmented and brokenness that they have with it? They need to heal that so that they can understand and then go, oh my goodness, maybe I should be doing this. When I was in the shelter, because I was in a maternity home when I was abandoned out on the street, one of the things they had in there was they gave us all a budget form. And I thought, oh my goodness, I get $428 a month. Really, you guys? You just want to bark off on a page that I've done a budgeting sheet for you. Now, if somebody had come in and said, look, I know many of you are not making a lot here. You probably get just a few $100s a month. But I'm going to tell you this. What if I told you that if you start to look at a budget sheet and work that $400 on that sheet today, that in the next 6 months, 12 months, you will start to see that grow? Start to learn how to budget small so that way you could budget when it becomes larger. Maybe I would have said, okay, maybe I'll listen to a little bit more. I mean, okay.
Show me.
And that's what we're bringing to the women, right? And I think that's one component that's missing to a lot of them. There's no one shoe fits all. We need to help them understand and have pictures that they can do it too. And we need to help them absorb the materials that we're giving them.
In the grand scheme of it all, we're not talking about the next Microsoft or Lululemon or whatever. We're talking about micro enterprises here.
Yes.
We're talking about just to get you started. Not to say that may not happen, which would be wonderful. But at this point, it's just to give them the sense of self-worth and confidence and understanding that, yes, you can take these steps. And so the programs are what? What would some of the programs be by definition? Let's say you have a financial responsibility element to it. What do they engage with in terms of the coursework that you're giving them?
Okay, so week 1 is really the overview, but then AI training hands-on is number 1. Because as entrepreneurs, as you guys know, every event we go to, there's a breakout room for AI, and we have it everywhere. They don't, but it is a tool that they need to know.
Mm-hmm.
So we start week 1, hands-on, and then that's a tool that I use throughout the program. I also use a method called 131 method, which is something I learned at a Philanthropy summit.
Summit breakouts?
One of the breakouts.
Yep.
And this is also week 1 because we want the women to start getting into the mindset of not dependent and victim, but independent and capable.
Mm-hmm.
So the 131 method, first you tell us what your concern is or what your problem is that you want to resolve. You come up with 3 viable solutions. You're going to pick one and why you want to move forward with that. So when women come and have questions, I go, did you chat GPT that or did you 131 it first?
Mm-hmm.
Because we want them to start thinking about how can they start finding out answers on their own, right? Week 2, that's my week. That's the coaching week. That's our assessments week. Gallup Strengths Finder, DISC assessments, right? So that we make sure that they know what their talents are. They know what their strengths are. And they're aligning their business ideas and their approaches to that, not just a dollar amount. Because what happens is people hear, oh, that sounds good. I'll do that. I can make money. But if it doesn't align with who you are, you're going to wake up every day miserable. You're going to be drained at the end of the day. You're not going to want to get up and do it. But when you align yourself with what you're good at, what you like doing, what you already know how to do, the days that you wake up and you don't feel that good, you're going to push yourself to get there because you like what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You're good at it. So that's what we do in week 2. Week 3, that's going to be the business, right?
Your concept, what it is, what's the idea, what's the big idea, where do you see it going?
But more, that's more week 2, goal setting too. So we do assessments, goal setting. What is your idea? What are you looking at? We're practicing pitches, 1 minute or under pitch. Now, week 3, we're really going into the entities, right? How to form a business? What entities can you pick from? With the women in micro businesses, we share all the entities, all the things that you could form, but we really want to focus on sole proprietorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that for micro businesses where they are. But we share all the information with them. Business model canvas, marketing, legal, all those
Structure,
things.
setting it up, all the things you need to be
all
aware
that
of.
stuff. That's all there. Week 5, and then week 4 is going to be money. That's where we go over all money. Have somebody come in. We have a couple people who are already slated for those positions, but we're going to have a bank team come in and they're going to speak about bank lending and how women can connect to their bank directly.
Mm-hmm.
We have somebody coming in from accounting to talk about, personal budgeting and getting going and starting something simple that day. And once we've gotten through all that informational stuff, week 5 is going to be fun. Week 5 is where we take a tour into the local ecosystem here. We're looking at maybe Carlson Center, maybe another local business in town where with a female owner, where the women could come in and start to network with the ecosystem, right? Get out of the victim services and into the community where they're going to be making their futures happen, right? It's another step of coming out of dependent on services and victim crisis and coming into, I am capable, I am an entrepreneur, I am now in the ecosystem myself, right? And so that is what our structure is looking with right now. And then following those 5 weeks, we're going to have mentorship. So the women will get 3 one-hour mentorships with a business professional. And that's where they're going to really, all right, so here's my business model canvas that we did in class. What are my next steps? What do I need to do? And so those 3 sessions, they are really going to go over that with their mentor. And then after that, we have weekly sessions where we meet, they come in, we all work together. What is everybody working with? Do you need help on your project? What do we need to do over here? What is your need over here? And we discuss that, come together as a group, and we help one another move forward.
How many women do you think will be in each of the classes going forward?
So we're looking at around 20 per class.
Okay.
So about 80 by the end of 2026.
Okay. So 4 sessions for these full curriculums
Yes.
over the course of the year.
Yes. Now, it's good to note also is that every course that is taking place is going to be taking place directly following women's empowerment graduation. So one of the places that I partner with and go with every quarter, Women's Empowerment, workforce development program that they have. And I give a workshop on becoming the brand new you and what steps they can take. I would say that out of that classroom alone, they usually have 15 to 20 participants in their program. And the last one we had, there was 14, and all 14 signed up for our next class.
Awesome.
So there's no problem finding the interest. The women are interested. They want to do this. And what one of the women just told me today, she goes, it's because you believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else has believed in my ideas.
Which is everything.
Yes.
And it gives them hope then that they can continue and build that confidence. And as they demonstrate the ability to do it, they just learn and grow and learn and grow into what they're choosing to be.
Yes. Yes. And like you said, it's micro businesses. So
Right.
we have one woman who's working on candles right now, and we have another one who's working on thrifting and reselling. And in the meantime, not only was she doing that, she's also now she found local bakeries and coffee shops in the city of Sacramento. And she goes, what do you guys do with your end of the day bakery goods? And they said, a couple places said, we throw them away. So she's now been going to these places, picking up the items, and then she goes around the community and delivers them to homeless. And these women are just amazing with what they're doing in the short period of time that we've been working together. In fact, one of them in my car right now, I have candles that she has made, and I'm going to be delivering them.
For the holidays.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So you mentioned a couple of things early on, which I was really, really thrilled to hear. They were more integrative than they were collaborative because we were building around it, but you're building around the same people that you are now collaborating with. So a Startup SAC, which that organization is going to help the entrepreneurs that you've got. A Carlson Center are going to help the entrepreneurs that you've got for those who choose to go down that path. You now have an awareness in the nonprofit ecosystem of working with trafficked women. Who are some of the organizations that you find yourself in alignment with?
I would say Women's Empowerment and The Table right now are my two biggest, or my leading ones, because we really have, as soon as the women graduate from there, then we start the program at The Table, which is like a
And the
block
table,
away.
for the benefit of those, that's Three Strands Global.
Three Strands Global,
Yes.
The Table downtown, which opened up about a year ago. So it's a block away from Women's Empowerment. So we bridge services then, right, for the women graduating to The Table. And then they also have the opportunity with us in the entrepreneurship. So we are collaborating not only the three of us as organizations, but also the women are, it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for everybody, how we are working this. The unique part about it is, like you said, for the last 3 years, I had been, everybody says network, you got to have your network. And I'm trying to build this network so we could get the shelter, we could get the support, not realizing the network I have already. Startup SAC, Carlson Center, Sacramento Entrepreneurship Academy, Evolution Accelerator. Like all these the startup ecosystem, that's me. And so now I'm able to bridge women from the crisis and victim to the startup and entrepreneurship, right? And it's all through my experience, and where I found hiccups along the way, I'm able to even that out for the women now that we serve.
Not to mention, because of your association with each of those organizations, it now gives them a sense of confidence again, comfort. Well, Emily's been there. I've got a soft lead in.
Yes.
I can ask questions. If I'm anxious about it, I can ask the questions before I just walk in. You already did the heavy lifting for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think it's huge too, is because women can see these are the steps that you walked. I could walk them too.
Mm-hmm.
And that is huge for women who are coming out of this. I'm telling you, a lot of given up, or they feel that, well, this is all I'm going to get. This is all I'm, and they go to this one organization for this month for that because they know next month they could go get something from the other one. And it becomes this cycle, this vicious cycle
Of dependency.
Yes. In fact, I think it's, I forget 43%. I think it's 43% of women who are survivors of human trafficking that come out make less than $25,000 a year, even years after being escaping. 60% return back to county services within 12 to 18 months,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the typical escape, job, shelter isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not working for everyone. And
There's nothing sustainable.
It's not sustainable. The jobs, and one of the reasons why is we're talking about women who come out and might educational wise, 13 or maybe 8th grade level, what kind of job are they going to get?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the minimum wage is paying. And the livable wage in California and Sacramento is, I think, about $30 for a livable wage. So if they get out, they get a job, they're barely on minimum wage, they have children, it's a job that's not aligned with who they are. So they're going to work every day becoming drained.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up, it falls through, and now they're stuck. I don't know how many women either stay stuck on the system or go back out on the streets because they just don't see a way to make it for themselves.
Mm-hmm. We'll hear more from Emily Sanders of Connect to Change right after a few words from those who make this program possible.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. We're dedicated to supporting nonprofit organizations who advocate for the strength, resilience, and vitality of those they serve. When nonprofit organizations thrive, our community does too. By supporting the Nonprofit Podcast Network, Five Star Bank is amplifying the voices and meaningful impact of our nonprofit community. We're Five Star Bank, a trusted nonprofit partner. How can we help you?
We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing. CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back-office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back-office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it. CXORE.com and contact me directly at DTEAT@CXORE.com.
If you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit CXORE.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. Let's talk a little bit about how you're funded. Nice to win awards
Yes.
and events, and I suspect I'm going to see you win a few more based
Absolutely.
on the presentation itself. But how are you funding the organization? How do you see that going forward?
So we are right now, actually, I just submitted a grant yesterday. So yeah, we're going to be applying for a couple grants this year. We also have a lot of private donors who have been very, very gracious and very supportive with what we're doing. And that is pretty much where we're looking for funding. This year is a lot of systems in place, making sure that we get the data very consistent, very detailed, so that we can share that with all our funders and raise more funds going into 2027.
And you are a small organization. You're a young organization. So for people to understand, I'm going to say you're going to be an organization to watch because of what you're doing and the novelty that you've got and the connectivity to different places that are appropriate for what you're trying to accomplish, not only on the victim services side or on the victim side specifically, but also into the entrepreneurship ecosystem of the community. I mean, how
Yes.
beautiful is that? I see this is going to happen. I'm telling you it's going to
happening.
happen. But you're going to have a woman who's going to come through this program who has been a trafficked woman who sees and has a vision of something that's appropriate that somebody's going to grab onto and say, we need to fund this. It may be more, but I see this happening. And that's going to be the huge success story that will give everybody else the hope that maybe they won't get to that threshold of success, but they'll get to a threshold of success that breaks that cycle. Let's dream for a second. Somebody comes and says, Emily, boy, I really like what you're doing. Give me a good enough reason to give you a blank check to make this thing work better, differently. What would it look like? What would you say? How would you build it if
Okay.
money wasn't an object?
If you build it, he will come. I don't know if you've ever watched Field of Dreams.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's been kind of my motto over the last few years. Now, I was thinking of this the last couple days, and I wanted to say, I will refer back to my SVP pitch, right? And I asked for $120,000 to coach and train 100 women in business. Now, with $120,000, we can fuel all the programs, the cohorts of 2026 through. We definitely could get through there. Now, my fundraising goal for the year, though, is 300, because that will empower us through, right? And that's what we are, empowerment through entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing we say in survivor groups, right, or in survivor classrooms: hurt people hurt people. Well, I have something else to say. Empowered people empower people.
Mm-hmm.
When you empower an organization, not to just get by, right, but empower them with the tools, the operational needs that they need to have taken care of, staffing, we're higher success rate for the women or the populations that they're serving,
Mm-hmm.
right? Empowered people empower people. Empowered organizations empower people. Now, with 300,000, we would be empowered. You're going to help the organization get all the operational overhead taken care of, marketing so that we can market for more funding, right? Not only can we power through all the cohorts, we can invest back into the women, really help them get going. So that's what I would say there. Because if you gave me a blank check, here's the thing. Let's keep it real. No organization goes from just beginnings to big endings in one day. And when we're talking about, I think back to Lisa Culp and women's empowerment. And in fact, the woman that I'm working with now who's doing the candles, she said she remembers when Lisa Culp was at Loaves and Fishes as I forget what they call it, a hat person, but basically somebody directing people where to go, right? And she said she would see Lisa out there talking to the women. What is it that you need? What would help you right now? And she said then Lisa at Loaves and Fishes just just had an office that she was working out of. And she would go in there and she goes, oh, there'd be so much crazy stuff going on outside Emily. But Lisa would go, just light this candle, just light this. Don't look anywhere else. Just focus here on this candle. And we're just going to set our intention for the day. Now, she said she didn't make it through that time with Lisa, but she remembers that. She remembers where she started. And I share that story because it relates to where we are, right? We're starting, we're over at the table. We're in their office, right? We're collaborating with them to use that space. Just like Lisa, right? What is it that you need? How can we help you? How do we get you to the next step? So with that being said, it's kind of unrealistic to say a blank check and we would end up in the exactly where I want to be. But where we are today, 120,000, that'll get us our cohorts for 2026. 300 will empower us through and get us to where we need to get going.
And what I really like about that is for anybody that's listening saying, this is reasonable. This is reasonable. This reasonable progress. Let's consider an opportunity for them. And to your point of, let's say you have these women with these ideas, there will be an opportunity, I think, some point down the line as the organization grows and the funding is there and there's some reserve to say, we use this piece of the organization. This reserve is really for our little venture capital piece to help the women's ideas come to fruition.
Yes.
And all of a sudden now you are self-fulfilling. And I can think of a few more things that we'll talk about off, microphone later. Greatest need today, just today, as you're looking at, you just finished a grant for the city of Sacramento. We're looking at the beginning of a new year. What is the greatest need?
I have a couple. Actually, I have a couple. So I could tell you right now that our cohorts are going to be about 40,000 each. We have 4 of them in a year. So you guys could do the math there.
Yep.
And then, but what we need is, how do we get through them? I need the mentors. I need the volunteers to jump in. Those who would like to fill in and take over, do the marketing class, right? There are still a couple openings that I need to fill, but I need people to get involved. And maybe you're not the person who's going to write that 120,000 check, but maybe you're that person who knows where I need to go to get that. Let's collaborate, work with me. And in fact, send me an email. Definitely email me. Right now is the best time to email me. You'll be able to set some time on my calendar. We will get together. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's collaborate. Let's figure out how we can work together to make this happen for the women that we serve.
And I'll put your email in the show notes, but do you want to give it just for the benefit of the listener?
Absolutely, I do. It's emily@connecttochange.org. That is with the number 2 in the middle. So emily@connecttochange.org.
I ask all our executive directors, leadership, CEO, president, whatever they might be titled, how they relax, because you absorb so much of the organization. It becomes you, and it's a part of you. It's a passion project that you are deeply involved with. What does Emily do to step back?
Plans ahead.
Please help me. Can you help me on that?
So since I stepped off the stage November 17th, I have been going nonstop.
2025.
Of 2025.
Yes.
I have been going nonstop. So I decided to take off some time going into the new year. Make time to reflect and recharge and to set those meaningful intentions for the new year. Making sure that I set time aside for me to do nothing sometimes, just so I give myself time to process and absorb everything that's come into my line of sight in however much time. But it's taking that time off to spend with my little boy.
Who is 6 years old?
6 now, yes. Because I still need to be a present mother for him.
Yep.
And enjoying those moments.
What's the best way to learn more about the organization? And you mentioned these volunteer roles that you're looking for, these positions that you need filled, to donate, to understand when the classes are, all that's happening.
I would say go to our website. If you go to our website, you will see there's a lot of information on our program design, how that works, what dates are coming up for our next cohorts, and contact information. Definitely contact me. And when we're talking about volunteers, I'd like to note, often people think, well, geez, I don't know if I have any skills that would be helpful. If you can pick up a phone and call around to see who might be interested in supporting our mission, if you can make a phone call, you can volunteer for us. We need any and all the help available to help us fuel these women for the next year forward.
This episode releases, and I'm going to do something I say we don't try to do, but it's important as we start the new year in January. It's Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And you will be the first episode. As people are listening, they're hearing that it is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And it's a category that so many people don't realize how pervasive and prevalent it is, and that Sacramento is one of the highest in the country because of our confluence of freeways and systems to get people out of here, sadly, and because of the integration of just bad operators that we have who come here because it is known as an easy access point to take people. And what you're doing for those victims who are able to be found, who are able to be brought back into the system, to help them function, to reintegrate, to actually build a life, the way that you're doing it for them is nothing short of remarkable. It's a different approach. It's one thing to bring them in. Yes, they have to be taken care of. Yes, they need their basic needs. Yes, they need victim services and all those pieces and whatever other programs that they have to lean on until they can step out on their own. But you're giving them that opportunity for the first step. And I can only imagine the sense of pride and confidence and exuberance at, I'm doing something on my own because somebody believed in me. They gave me hope. And here I am. And that's what Connect to Change is doing. So thank you for that.
I'm here today because people believed in me before I believed in myself. And now I'm in turn doing the same for the women that we serve.
Empowered people.
Empowered people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. We hope today's episode inspired you and gave you a deeper look into the work of our local nonprofits. If you believe in our mission to amplify their voices, please take a moment to leave us a positive review and share this episode with a friend. It helps more people discover the incredible work happening in our community. And don't miss future episodes. Subscribe to our weekly updates and monthly newsletter at nonprofpod.com. And if you're part of a nonprofit that would like to be featured, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit the Guests tab on our website. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is recorded and produced at Hear Me Now Studio with generous support from our outstanding partners. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, online at captrust.com. Western Health Advantage, local care with community impact. Find the plan that fits at westernhealth.com. CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. Visit cxore.com. And 5 Star Bank, a local trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. 5starbank.com.